Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Logical Nonsense podcast. Today we have Cam F. Awesome, 12-time national boxing champion, 3-time Olympic trials champion, motivational speaker. Some refer to him as the vegan boxer. And I believe he was the captain for the U.S. national boxing team. Excited to have him on. Cam, how are we doing today?
Good, man. I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to have you on. Haven't had a lot of mixed martial arts athletes on, so super excited. I think I've had one wrestler on besides you, so super excited to get into this world. How about I have you introduce yourself to the audience?
Cam F. Awesome. I born and raised in Long Island, New York. Entrepreneur. I like to think of myself as an independent artist, and that's kind of. It's funny that like rap and sports is your thing because
Yep.
I basically built my career. I built my speaking career like a mixtape rapper.
That's awesome.
Like
I
I
love it.
based all of that. So like big rap fan. Jay-Z is my North Star.
Yep.
I celebrate New Year's every year on December 4th.
That's
It's Jay-Z's
awesome.
birthday.
Heck
And
yeah.
it gives me 28-day head start on everybody else who's starting their year.
I love that. I love that. I mean, Jay-Z's a great legend. It's hard to dispute following his aura, his footsteps, celebrating his birthday, right? So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, let's start first with your journey in boxing. How did you get started into boxing?
I was getting bullied in school and lacked confidence, wanted to get in shape. And the only free gym in the neighborhood was a boxing gym. Never made any. I tried out for all the teams, never made a team in school, and got cut off every team except for in 8th grade. I got injured before cuts, so
Oh,
technically,
geez.
I did
What
get.
team
That was
was
the
it?
one team. It was the JV football team, but
Okay.
technically didn't get cut. So, uh,
Well, that's awesome, man.
yeah. So I started boxing just to get in shape, and I thought the harder I worked out, the quicker I'd get in shape. And what that taught me was talented people don't know how to work hard for the most part.
Yep.
Like all the talented dudes in the gym that were really good were
Yep.
only good because they were talented.
Yeah.
And I eventually just outworked them all.
Yep. Yep. No, I think that's a great point you bring up. I mean, it's true, right? Like, I think there's a lot of people who, for a majority of their life in sports, and we'll see it based off of who succeeds and who doesn't. Like, they just get by with their natural given talent, right? It has nothing to do with work ethic, but at the end of the road, the people who do succeed are the ones that put in the work. I think you got to have a little bit of both, right? Like,
Yeah.
you gotta have some sort of natural talent, some sort of that athletic ability to be successful in sports particularly. But I agree. I think work ethic it's talked about, but it's not. I don't know. I think some people believe that they'll just get far on their talent.
Yeah. I think talent could be a curse if you're too talented in the beginning. Because I saw people who they all the gifts, but they just didn't
Exactly.
have that work ethic or discipline.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what it takes, right? The discipline, the hard work, and combining that with your athletic talent. So, well, let's go into talked about getting bullied that got you started. What did high school look like for you going into your older years? Like how did that progression look like in boxing?
So I started boxing in 11th grade.
Yep.
Uh, and then my senior year of high school, my parents moved from New York to Florida. And this would have been devastating for most people, but I wasn't cool in high school.
Yep.
So I got to start over fresh in Florida. And
Awesome.
I
Cool.
just pretended I was this popular, cool kid from New York. And hook, line, and sinker, everybody in Florida bought it. And I got to rebrand myself basically before I even understood what that was. And the cool thing was my boxing gym was 6 miles from my high school.
Mhm.
So I had a 6 mile walk.
Oh, that's cool. Heck yeah.
And the music I used to listen to, so I only listen to mixtape rap.
Yep.
So grew up in New York. There's Jamaica Ave in Queens, New York. You get mixtapes, one for $5, three for 10. And my favorite rapper of all time, not the greatest rapper, Jay-Z's the greatest rapper. My favorite rapper of all time, Joe Budden.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The podcast dude I know, but like other than pump it up, he had a deal with Def Jam,
Yep.
right? And it was a terrible deal. He was getting screwed over and he had to put out songs per his contract. So he only put out songs like explaining the industry and how everything actually works.
Yeah.
And how you call up 106 in Park, you call up TRL to vote. None of your votes count. It goes to a deadline.
Yep.
It's an industry. And I understood how powerful it was to be an independent artist and keep my rights.
Yep.
So when I got success in boxing, I never wanted to turn pro because basically you work for someone.
Yep.
And the artist and the athlete are the least valuable in the business.
Yep.
Because there's someone who's willing to work twice as hard for half the money just for the opportunity. So my business mind was like, oh, I'm not going to work for anyone. So because they'll tell you who to fight, what weight you need to be, when you're going to fight. And I was like, oh, I'm not doing any of that. So my big thing with boxing in life was always remaining independent. I see myself as an independent artist.
That's interesting. Did you ever like get tempted by, going professional or like, I don't know, like, did you have people being like, dude, you're not professional. Like, can I take you seriously?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, I won so much. Everyone
Yep.
was wondering why I wouldn't turn pro. Like, if you win one nationals, you could turn pro and get a pretty good signing bonus.
Yep.
But in my head, I saw the long game.
Yep.
Because if you're an athlete, we all think like, oh, we'll be made worth and make millions. Most boxers you see on TV got jobs.
Yep.
Like, they're not making as much money as you think they are.
Yeah.
Like my Olympian friend, I'm not going to call his name out, but he just fought. He went to the Olympics in 2012. He just made $30K for a fight, which sounds like a lot, but you only fight twice a year.
Yeah. That's only $60K a year. Yeah.
And so I went to spar a guy he was fighting for $100K. And I was like, cool. He's like, that's not a lot of money. After taxes, you're looking at $50K.
Yep.
Then you have to pay 33% to your manager, 10% to your coach. He paid for his sparring partners to go out there. He has to pay for his sparring partners fight. He has to pay for his sparring partners massages. He has to pay for his own massages. Yep. Bro, you're fighting in Vegas. Are you not going to fly your mom out?
Yeah, exactly.
Are you not going to get her a hotel? When it was said and done, he probably had $15K.
That's crazy. Yeah.
But family members had their hands out like he had 100.
Oh, I'm sure they did. I mean, well, that's the thing too, like to the eye, right? Like, oh my God, they're boxing in Vegas, they're on TV, like, dude, they're making bank, right? But to your point, like, they're really not making as much as you think they are, which is really interesting.
I was making $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
That's so let's say $500 for rent. But let's just say I rent a room for $500.
Yeah.
You get car insurance, you got your phone bill. You're already at $1,000. How are you gonna get food?
Yep.
Like how are you gonna get supplements?
Yep.
And it's not that I was lazy. I couldn't work because like what job is going to give me 3 weeks off for a training camp, another 3 weeks off to go to Europe to fight. So it was like, you just had to hustle.
Yep. No, that makes sense, but obviously not explained to the media, right? Like they don't show that side, right?
No, they think because my passport's filled, I got money. Like now I was leaving the country with less than $100 in my bank account.
Yeah.
It was a struggle.
Yeah. Who would you say were some of your biggest supporters along the way through your boxing career?
Ooh, had a lot of big supporters. I'm a combination of a lot of help from a lot of people.
Yep.
So one person, I think, John Brown, my coach, 2008, he saw me fight and was like, he owned Ringside, the boxing equipment company.
Yep.
And he flew me out to Kansas City, said he would coach me for free, let me travel around the world for free. In exchange, I speak at the high schools and middle schools in the area, in the hood, and get kids to join his nonprofit boxing gym.
That's awesome.
And it gave me the opportunity to travel all around the world with boxing and have a bunch of fights. Another great supporter, Bill and Amy Mackey. 2012, I got kicked off the Olympic team and had very little, had nothing. And Bill and his wife, Amy, like, I mean, when I say they came in clutch, they helped me out financially. They were there for me emotionally. They would do these Sunday cook-a-thons where they come over my house and we'd cook on Sundays. And now they're still in my life. Bill ended up being my boxing coach. Uh,
That's awesome.
and greatest boxing coach in the world.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, anyone who can step in like that, especially when you're at your lowest, is huge, right? Get you right
Yeah.
back on track. So,
Yeah.
how would you say? I mean, you kind of already answered this, but how would you say they helped you not only in boxing but also in your outside life?
So Amy she works for Engine 2. It's like a vegan diet, vegan, like
Yep.
it was this vegan thing. And I wasn't vegan, but Bill, he met me online, like I had a Craigslist ad for personal training. I got kicked off the Olympic team and I was broke, needed to
Yep.
hustle. So I started doing personal training. He came in, he was like 43, 44 years old, like really overweight, had a knee brace on, and was like, he wants to have his first fight. And they were vegan. They mentioned the vegan thing, but I didn't pay any attention to it. But every week he came in, he was smaller and smaller. Then he got his knee brace off. He
Yep.
lost like 100 pounds. And I lost a bet to them in 2012. And it was Manny Pacquiao versus Timothy Bradley.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't even watch the fight. Pacquiao was supposed to win, but lost the bet. And I had to be vegan for 28 days.
Yeah.
And they showed up at my house Sunday morning with a
Yeah.
garbage bag, took all my non-vegan food out my crib. They bought me vegan food. They bought me pots and pans because I was living like a bachelor. Like it was
Yeah.
rough in there.
Yeah.
And they helped outfit my kitchen. So like she helped me on the diet side and the discipline around food.
Yep.
She explained to me like serving sizes. She showed me how to read the nutritional labels. Like
Yep.
you see a Gatorade says like 120 calories, but there's 4 serving sizes in that. So you have to
Yep.
times that by 4. It's like these little things she taught me about diet. On the other side, Bill, her husband, he had me at the gym 6 a.m. every morning because we had to work out before he went to work. I didn't really work. I was a trainer. So that discipline made me get up early. Not even getting up early, it made me go to bed early.
Yep.
And most of my bad habits happen between 8 p.m. and 1 a.m.
Yep.
So
Yep.
also sleeping is free, bro. No calories.
Yeah,
You don't spend money in
exactly.
your sleep.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So it just kind of sets you up to have success, just things you weren't even really thinking about, nutrition, sleep, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that was a big thing. And it was cool because Bill is sober. And I had my struggles, but I got to see someone navigate life without substances, which
Yeah.
might not seem like that big of a deal, but it was for me.
I mean, yeah, I mean that's huge, right? Like to see somebody who can, like you said, navigate life without substances, and I don't know, it's kind of a positive influence in numerous ways to show you that it can be done and you can still live a really good life.
Yeah.
So
Shout out to Bill. Yeah.
so like I said earlier in the podcast, 12-time national champion. What was that first national championship like for you?
Luckily I was too dumb to understand what I was doing. Like
Yeah.
you box in like when your first fight, you box in like a junior high gym or something. And I thought that's what we're doing. Like I won enough of those junior high little boxing matches, like in rec centers. And
Yep.
they're like, you get to go to nationals. I didn't know what that meant. So I just like showed up. And because I didn't make it bigger than it needed to be, it was a lot easier for me.
Yep.
I think as people, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves
Definitely.
when something big is in front of us, and it forces us to underperform.
Definitely.
So because I didn't know any better and I did so well, after I won my first nationals, I didn't celebrate
Yeah.
because I wanted it to seem like a casual thing.
Yep.
I was like, okay, cool. That's just something I do.
Yep.
And I did it once, I can do it again. And I
Yep.
did it 11 more times.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think really good point you bring up about like mentality and thinking too. Like I definitely like we see it all the time, like folding under the big spotlight, right? Like people do it all the time. We see it in sports all the time. And I genuinely think it is all a mental thing. Like it's one of those things where you think about it too much. You think about, oh my God, I gotta be perfect in this match and or sport or whatever game, right? And I think a lot of times really what it comes down to is like, trust your training, just do what you do, like, don't make it bigger than what it is. Like, yes, the stage has been higher, but it's still, in this case, like, you're still fighting someone. They're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's the same equipment, nothing's changed in terms of that. It's the same
Right.
sport.
I'll go even further. I
Yep,
treated boxing so casually. Like I treat national championship finals on
yep,
television the same way I treat a sparring session in the gym.
yeah,
It's like I
and
don't
that's how
sit
it should
down
be
in
done.
yeah, I don't sit down in between rounds in a
Yep,
fight. And
yep,
everyone's like, "Why?" I'm like, "You don't sit down in between rounds in sparring.
yeah,
Why would you do anything different in a fight?"
yep.
Like,
Well, it's literally, like, practice how you want to, play, or practice
yeah,
how you wanna box, right? Like, it's same mentality, so I like that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
good.
and yeah.
How did your 12th championship, like, how had you changed? Like, did it mean anything more to you, that 12th one, than the first?
Bro, it meant less and less after the fourth.
Really?
And I was just going out and partying the night before the finals. Like it was so here was my thought process because I didn't go to college.
Yep,
Not really for me. I didn't see the benefit in it. But my thought process was if I have a national championship and you have an associate's degree
yep,
and we apply for the same marketing job,
yep.
who do you think is going to get it?
Yeah,
So after I had my fourth national championships, I just looked at it as a bachelor's. So I was like,
yep,
okay, sports is so powerful
yep,
that I can use these national championships and leverage it to do whatever I want to do later on in life. And the concept of athlete privilege
yep,
is amazing. Like, I date out of my league, bro. I
yep.
get opportunities that I'm not supposed to get. I speak on stages I probably don't deserve to, but I'm really good at a sport, and Americans are biased when it comes to athletes.
You're not wrong, yeah.
So I won nationals from 2008, 9, 10, 11, 2012. Won the Olympic trials to represent the U.S. in London, but got kicked off the Olympic team for not sending in my drug testing paperwork on time. Left the country to fight in Azerbaijan. Forgot to tell the drug testing agency. They showed up to give me a random drug test. Wasn't there. Missed drug test is a positive drug test. I was suspended for a positive drug test, even though I tested negative that same week to compete in Azerbaijan. Uh, and when my sport was taken from me, I saw the flaw in identifying as an athlete.
Yep,
Because once your sport is gone, you are a nobody.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
All those things I said I got before, I had to pay for my own gym membership when I got kicked off the team.
yeah.
Like I thought, I thought people liked me. It's like, oh no, they just like athletes. Uh, so I stopped identifying as an athlete and started to identify as a performer.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of athletes struggle with that, right? You look at, any retired NFL player and NBA player, right? Like, they struggle a lot of times, and, it's not always talked about, but I think they do struggle with their identity, if you will, because their whole identity, pretty much their entire life, was being that athlete, was being, that professional athlete. So, like, once that's gone, like, what do you have? And like, there's been more and more talk about, the mental health aspect of it, and, you know, basically figuring out, like, you do have more to your value than just your athlete. So I like that you bring that up.
Yeah, it's like identity crisis for a lot of us.
Yep.
And so I realized I was like, okay, after I got suspended, I was like, I have to return to boxing because I have no other skills or abilities. Uh, but when I return to boxing, I'm treating it like a business.
Yeah.
So I went out, I legally changed my last name to Awesome. I am
Yep.
no longer old cam. I'm a performer now. Like
Yep.
I'm flipping in the ring, I'm doing dances, I'm doing crazy interviews. Netflix did a documentary on me.
That's awesome.
Follow it's called Counterpunch. It's still on Netflix. And I use because even though it wasn't like a big documentary or anything, I had like a 7-man camera crew,
Yeah.
which is just an invitation to get first of all in every club for free.
Yep.
But also I started doing stand-up comedy because I had a camera crew, I was getting on a lot of stages. And the more stage time you get, the better you get as an artist. And I was getting a lot more opportunity. I won nationals when I returned back 2013, 14, 15, 16. 2016, I won the Olympic trials again to represent the US in the Rio Olympics, but lost an international competition and didn't get my spot in Rio.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. But this time it was on my own accord. Like
Yep.
it's not because I got suspended. I just
Yep.
lost. It was a split decision. If I would have won, he couldn't complain. It was that close of a fight, so I can't
Yep.
complain. But when I lost, I was like, okay, what's the plan? And
Yep.
again, I'm a hustler. I'm gonna figure things out.
Yep.
I was like, okay, I wanted to be a speaker, and I thought, okay, how do I build my speaking career? I listened to enough Joe Button and enough mixtapes to know how this works. If
Yep.
you're a rapper, you start doing free shows and rapping to your friends for no reason. And then
Yep.
you get good enough at that, you start to do little venues. So I started speaking at boxing gyms to the kids. Then I would reach out to schools and I would find a teacher. I'm like, hey, how'd you like to get drunk tonight? Because you don't have to work tomorrow. And they're like, tell me more. I'm like, I'm a speaker. I want to do my same speech 7 times for all 7 of your classes tomorrow. Legally, you have to sit in the classroom, grade papers, play on your phone, do what you want. So I was doing my speech 7 times a day. I do that sometimes 3 times a week. And after I did probably a few hundred of these, I got good and I got my message down.
Yep.
And I went back to all those teachers. I had them write me testimonials. Then I brought all those testimonials to a different school district. And I was like, hey, this is who I am. And I gave them a price that they could not afford. And they're like,
Yep.
hey, we can't afford that. I'm like, oh, I'll do it in exchange. I'll do a speech, a school assembly, entire school in exchange for you having the photo and video class take professional videos and photos of me. Boom, I get that from my website. The next school, I had the students make me a website. And then, like, after you, as a rapper, after you kind of get known in your city, you start touring.
Yep.
But no one talks about this. You only tour in trash venues.
Yeah.
So I bought a van and I lived in my van for 3 years, like traveling around the country, speaking at schools for next to nothing here or there, nickel and diamond, and got my message down, became a dope artist. Again, still independent. I could have signed with someone or I could have went with another company, but I want 100% of my own stuff.
Yep.
So it took me a little bit longer to build up my speaking career, but I did it all on my own. And I keep 100% of everything.
Do you still public speak?
Yeah, I still do that. This is what I do for a living full time now. But
That's
now I've transitioned from school to corporate engagements where like I just really do 1 or 2 a month and I just kind of chill. I do stand-up comedy at night.
That's awesome. That's
why I moved to Austin.
Yeah, you really are an entrepreneur. A lot of success, both in boxing world as well as public speaking and comedy. How do you handle that success?
Oh, I failed way more times than I'm successful.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm known as the no Olympian. So 2008 qualified for Olympic trials, lost. 2012 won the Olympic trials, got kicked off. 2016 won the Olympic trials, lost international competition. 2020 I decided to fight for my dad's country, Trinidad and Tobago.
Yep.
So flew to his country, got dual citizenship, learned about the country, learned about the culture, fought in the Olympic trials, won by knockout. And then the pandemic happened, and because they're an island, they didn't send a team.
Oh, that sucks.
So 16 years I've been going after the Olympics, and I never got to go.
Is your boxing career completely done? Like, are you retired, or are you still?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm out. I'm out. The reason why I did 2020 was just because if you go to the Olympics, they give you all the TV time and news time you want. You reach out to any news station, and they'll bring you in to talk about boxing, and then I just talk about my speaking career the whole time.
Yep.
I was just trying to leverage any type of media I could. And when the pandemic happened, I was like, okay, I'm a dope enough speaker to where I could make a career doing this.
Yep.
And now I use speaking to supplement my comedy career, which makes 0 money.
Well, I mean, it's super cool. Like, honestly, like all the avenues that you have brought in, I mean, it is really cool to hear about. So
I'll speak on this. So handling successes, I've got about 400 wins in boxing. That's more than any other boxer in U.S. history.
Yep.
But I got 39 losses.
Yep.
And I understood that each of those losses taught me something to get me to 400 wins.
Yep.
So my thought is like, imagine me, because you don't know many boxers with 10 losses.
Yeah.
Imagine me quitting after 10 losses because I'm like, oh, great boxers don't have 10 losses. I realize it's my losses it's my failures that lead to my success. So I got no shame around my failures.
Yeah.
And then when I do get successful, I talk my talk.
Which of your failures, quote unquote, would you say helped you the most and helped you get to that next gear as a better boxer and as a better human?
Ooh, probably getting kicked off the Olympic team
Yeah.
because I realized that sports ain't it,
Yep.
and I have to build myself in a way that's bigger than sports because there's a shot clock. Then, like you age out quicker than you think.
Yep.
And what I realized, because people thought I was crazy for not turning pro, I'm 36 now. I'd be washed.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you can tell, I'm starting to get some grays. The more grays I get, the more my speeches are worth.
Yep.
The older I get, the C-suite, the executives, the CEOs, they're not going to listen to a 25-year-old.
Yeah.
The older I get, the more value I get. So I'm in a career with longevity now.
That's awesome.
But it's a
That's
lot less
awesome.
cool, and there's less groupies in speaking than there was boxing.
Yeah. Yeah. The suspension, we kind of talked about the toll and what it had on you. How did you respond to that? Like, what was your immediate response? What was like, describe the timeline of from the suspension to basically when you started getting really into basically until you made the Olympic team again.
So I didn't know I was suspended for 4 months because I travel 300 days a year with boxing,
Yep.
and they sent a letter to my house saying I got suspended. But since I'm not home, I never knew. So I was just continuing to travel around and fight. And I got to a tournament and they're like, "Oh, you can't fight." I was like, "Why?" They're like, "You're suspended." I was like, "I don't think so." And that's how I found out.
Yeah.
And my first thing was denial because, like, obviously I
Yeah.
don't do anything. There's nothing in my system. And yeah, I took it to court and I still lost. So I was living in LA. Sponsors were paying for my house, my food, my car. Bro, the day I got suspended, they took everything from me.
Yeah.
They told me, "Don't bother coming home. They're going to mail my stuff where I want to send it." And I had to go crash on my friend's couch until I could get myself together. And I realized, like, I had to. I struggled. It sucked. I cried a lot. I gained a lot of weight. I drank a lot,
Yep.
but I realized no one cares.
Yep.
Like, here's the thing. I know there's a lot of talk about mental health and all that type of stuff, but what did it for me is I realized no one cares.
Yep.
Like, no one's coming to save you.
Yeah.
And I took a look at myself. I was like, all right, well, like, before the Olympics started, people forgot I wasn't going.
Yep.
The dude I beat 6 times took my spot.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, I need to stop having pity for myself. Like, I got to turn this around and I got to do a whole rebrand. I realized I wasn't going to see the fruit of my labor
Yep.
for some years, but I was going to start planting some seeds. So that's why I started doing the stand-up comedy. I changed my name. I started speaking at schools, and I tried to build myself bigger than an athlete.
Definitely. I mean, that's super cool that you kind of made that realization of like, hey, like no one's gonna help me out, so I gotta help myself out. Because a lot of people, in your shoes, they could have just been like, well, it was a good run, that's it, But you came back to boxing, like you said, you extended your career in other avenues so you could have longevity. You figured out that I don't want my identity to just be boxing, so I think that's how you should respond, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't easy. And that whole day by day thing, like, you've got to take it day by day. And it seems like, oh, I had the whole plan figured out, but bro, I was figuring things out as I was going. I didn't know if speaking would take off. I didn't know how to build a business. I
Yep.
didn't know how to start an LLC. But what I learned was, for a cup of coffee, you can get information out of anyone. And I found successful people don't keep secrets to themselves.
Yep.
And so if I see you and I'm like, if I want to get into podcasting, I'm like, "Hey man, can I grab some coffee? You want to grab some coffee?" And we'll sit down over a cup of coffee and I'll start asking you personal questions.
Yep.
Hey, how'd you get this? How'd you do
Yep.
this? Where'd you get your equipment? What mistakes did you make? And you'll tell me all of those things. Now,
Yeah.
if you're on stage, you won't answer really personal questions because people don't do that.
Yep.
But I'd see a speaker on stage share a story, get off stage like, hey, let me buy you a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Like, and people are willing to help. You just got to ask.
Exactly. Exactly. It's funny you say that because like literally the podcast I had yesterday, same thing. Like his advice to people were keep asking good questions. Like that is what's gonna get you to the, wherever avenue you are, that's gonna make you successful. So two people
Yeah.
now who have said the same thing.
Yeah. That's a wise man or woman.
What is it like representing the USA at a world stage?
Ooh, it's dope. And what was weird was there was like a time for like a 2 or 3 year span where it wasn't cool to rep the USA.
Yeah,
Not me, bro.
yeah,
I wear flag socks. I wear flag. It's going to another country and beating up their dude, and
yep,
then them playing my national anthem.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
to this day, when I hear a national anthem, I start jumping around because when they play that song, it's usually before a fight.
yeah.
That's so I've been like Pavlov's dog. Like nothing hypes me up more than the national anthem.
I love that. Yeah, I love that because I mean, right now, like you said, I feel like there's certain people who'd be like, it's whatever, patriotic, whatever. But like, it is cool when we still see that, and I think the Olympics, we always see the patriotism come back. We always see it come back with the Four Nations this year with hockey.
Yeah.
So I love
The
that.
World Cup,
Yeah, I mean the World Cup. Yeah, I mean
yeah.
it's gonna be. I love seeing athletes take pride in their country. So that's awesome.
Bro, I take so much. So I used to call myself Camerica
Yeah.
because it was sketchy. Always had the flag. I was captain of the team. Like what my coolest story, I was in Ukraine. We had just won a tournament and
Yep.
I got this check for $5,000, bro.
Yep.
And they gave you like a big check. It wasn't real, but they gave you like a big check to take a picture with.
Yep.
And I took the whole team out for drinks.
Yep.
And we went, that's back when I was drinking. We went out, we partied, and one of the dudes was like, "What are you celebrating?" Like in broken English. And I showed him a picture of me holding the check. And he's like, "Oh, 5,000 manats." I was like, "That's not dollars."
So-
Turned out to be $250, bro.
oh, yeah,
So
that would have been nice to know.
yeah, it would have been nice to know. Luckily, drinks are so cheap out there. But we were walking to the park from the bar like 2 o'clock in the morning, and there was a concert.
Yeah.
This is 2013.
Yeah.
And there's a concert going on, and the dudes, they see a group of black dudes walking, which is very rare in the Ukraine. So
Yep.
they call us on stage. So I go up on stage, and it's like a rap concert. And he's like, Jay-Z. I was like, boy, do I. If there is what I know.
Yep.
He's like, this is 2013. He says, new Jay-Z, Linkin Park?
Oh yeah, oh my gosh,
That's 2004, bro. It
yeah,
was like 9 years ago, but they're just getting that music over there. This is before streaming and everything.
yeah.
So they got things late. And I got to perform Jay-Z's parts in that concert.
That's so
Like,
dope.
and it wasn't like huge, it was about 200 people. But to me, that was like,
Yeah.
that was a cool moment.
Hell yeah.
In that same tournament, I fought because it's different, it was 8 different countries.
Yep.
And I fought the guy from Ukraine the first day.
Yep.
And they rep, bro, they go hard for boxing.
Yeah.
They had their signs, they had their chants. It was a mess. And like, I don't back down. So I flipped in the ring. I'm laughing at the crowd. I'm talking mad shit.
Yep.
And I smashed their dude. And after the fight happened, like, they're very strong people. And I thought they were angry. So I hopped out ring, got on the team bus, went home. I was afraid to be around there because we had to fight the next day. I show up the next day, bro, worried like maybe they'd be mad at me. They made signs like awesome and like go USA. Because I beat their guy, they just decided to pick me and cheer for me the entire tournament.
Cool. That's so
and it's
cool.
like having the entire Ukraine stadium chant USA, bro. That's one of my top moments.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome. You can't really top that. That's pretty cool. Entire country rooting for you. Who would you say is the toughest boxer you have ever faced and why?
Ooh, a guy I fought him 5 times. I beat him all 5 times, and I'm terrified of him.
Yep.
Uh, his name was Elvis Garcia.
Yep.
Standard Mexican fighter, like a
Yep.
warrior. Dude does
Yep.
not move his head. And I knew I was so much faster than him. First time we fought, I was like, oh, I'm landing a bunch of punches. And I was like, oh, let me see. Now I'm just trying to flex. I was like, I'm going to throw a 7-punch combination. Unheard of. And I'm like,
Yep.
I'm sure I can land all 7. And by the time I landed my 4th punch, he started walking forward as if I was not throwing punches.
That's
like,
crazy. Yeah.
It hurt my heart, bro.
Yeah.
Tough as I had to just run from him the rest of the fight. And like, Mexican dude, don't get tired. He can take punches. And like, I saw him in the airport the next day, and his face was just like black and bruised up. And every time I fought him was like that. But he never took a step back.
Dang.
He should have.
Is
brain damage is real? Probably. The problem with boxers, they don't know. Anytime someone tells me they're boxing, especially young boxers, 3 questions. Why are you boxing?
Yep.
What do you want out of boxing?
Yep.
And finally, what is it going to take for you to leave?
Yeah.
Because people stick around too long.
Yep. Yep. So would you recommend it for like the youth right now? Like, are you trying
boxing?
to like, yeah. Like, would you want to grow the sport in that way?
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. The thing is, like, you have to understand the risk you're taking when you get into the ring.
Yep.
But for me, college was not an option. Like, at my high school graduation, my dad looked at me and was like, you going to college? I was like, that's not how it works. Because he's not from America. He doesn't know how the system works. So, like, I never was introduced to the college system like that. And they say, like, a lot of people use sports to get out of the hood.
Yep.
They don't say how.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people, you got to do the sport forever. It's like, no, use the sport enough to leverage it to do what you need to do or get what you need to get out of life.
Yep.
And when I was retired from boxing, I traveled to over 35 countries, represent the USA. I got a whole bunch of championships. I know people in every city, and I leverage my athlete privilege to get things I want in life that I don't necessarily deserve.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool though. And it's smart, right? Like, you kind of, like you said, like you had to brand yourself. You had to really make those connections to do that. But it's smart. It really is smart. So.
And now I talk to athletes about life after sports.
Yep.
Because like a lot of us, we think, oh, we're athletes. Because if you're a top athlete, you've probably been the man since 4th grade. Now you're 32 and you're retired and no one cares about you. That's a lot to take.
Yeah.
What do you do with your time? Even if you're financially straight.
Yep.
Where do you find purpose?
Exactly.
You never had hobbies. You didn't learn anything. You didn't develop relationships and friendships because you're so dedicated to your sport. So with my hustler's mentality, I help athletes build transitions for themselves for after sports.
That's awesome. I mean, that's kind of what we talked about earlier, right? Like with the whole identity thing too. So I think that's like perfect full circle too. Like, it's huge. Like you said, like as humans, we can say like, oh, if I had money, like whatever, I wouldn't care about anything, but you still need purpose. You still need to do something. Like, you're not going to sit around every day for the rest of your life just living the country club life. Like, eventually you're going to get bored, and eventually you're going to be like, what am I doing here?
Bro, take a look at older people.
Yep.
So many people, when they retire and they can finally sit on that rocking chair and do nothing, they die immediately.
Yeah.
Because they're just sitting around. They have no purpose. They have nothing to look forward to. They lose their community. Like, yeah, you might hate your job, but there's people at your job that you see and interact with.
Yep.
I know a lot of people who work virtually now, and they've lost that community. And you kind of lose a sense of self. Even the small talk around the cooler, that the annoying people that you don't like, is still a benefit to them being around.
Yeah, I agree. What was your mindset during matches when you boxed, and how did that mindset kind of evolve?
Oh, what I learned was, so my buddy, I was 17, he was 16, and he fought a dude. We're in Orlando years ago. He was fighting a dude, and my buddy knows how to fight. He's a great fighter. But the guy he was fighting was also 16, but had tattoos.
Yep.
And my buddy was like, I got to fight a guy with tattoos. And I'm like,
I've been there. Yeah.
And I saw him get scared. And he lost that fight because he was scared, even though he was more talented, he was bigger, and he was a
Yep.
better boxer. And I told myself, I want the mental edge always. So my mindset, if we're fighting, I want you to know that I'm a better fighter than you. I know
Yep.
I'm a better fighter, and you should know I'm a better fighter. I'm a better fighter. I'm more disciplined. I train harder. I'm a better father. I don't have any kids. I'm a better lover. Every aspect of life, I am better than you,
Yep.
whether that's true or not. But I just need you to believe it a little bit.
Yep.
Because the second I land a punch and you start to question your ability,
Yep.
I'm in your head.
Yep.
And the reason why I flip in the ring and I dance and I wear the cape, it's like when the bell rings in between rounds, I walk you to your corner and sit you down.
Yeah.
And I don't break eye contact, and I go back to my corner and I watch you the entire time because you're going to eventually have to get back up. I've been standing up the whole time. Come get to my level.
Dang. Okay. Intense. I like it. Intense mindset, a little intimidation factor. I like it. So did you talk trash too?
The entire time, bro.
Yeah.
If the ref, and I would talk trash, and when the ref would, like, if you start talking, because you'll probably talk at the wrong time. I know angles. I know when the ref is here, I talk some shit to you. But as soon as the ref tells you, "Hey, quiet," I'm behind the ref like, "Hey, yeah, you better shut up." And I do things like that. One of my favorite things to do is if you throw a hook, I can block it or I can duck it. But what I do is you throw a hook and I'll duck it, use your momentum, turn your hips around, and I'll get your back and I lightly hump you from behind.
Dirty.
You're emasculated. You're angry. Then the
Yep.
ref breaks us and then warns you for turning your back to the action. If I can get you to do that 3 times in one round, you lose a point.
Yeah.
I win the round. I won fights by just turning my opponent around enough. It's
Yeah.
like one of the things I did when I started boxing is I interviewed the judges and the referees. Because I'm like, why am I fighting? What are you looking for? And one of the major things they said is clean, snapping punches that snap someone's head back.
Yep.
So I had the best uppercut in the game. It
Yep.
wasn't for power. It was just to snap your head back. I wasn't trying to hurt you.
Yep.
And I would snap your head back a few times. You just keep walking forward because it's not a big deal. But to the refs, they're registering those as points.
Yep. Interesting. Okay.
My mindset was strategy.
Yep. I like it. Did you cut weight back in the day as a former wrestler? You know, I know how it is.
Wrestlers are the
Weight.
worst, bro. When it comes to cutting weight, like boxing is tough, whatever, but wrestlers on a whole different level when it comes to weight cutting, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, wrestlers are y'all crazy.
Yeah. So it's very fun to hear your mindset and stuff and talk about. It's very similar in terms of that, and when it comes to cutting weight. So curious if you ever had to cut weight.
So my strategy when I first started boxing was I realized the big guys they were strong and they had this mentality of, oh, I'm just going to get a knockout.
Yep.
So big guys didn't do cardio and they didn't work out hard. So even though I was about 203 pounds, 201 pounds is the cutoff, I would eat just to get above the weight limit. So I got to fight super heavyweight. So I'd fight guys 200, 300, 400 pounds. Like the biggest dude I fought was like almost 300 pounds, 6'11". He was like Dwight Howard, bro, a Ukrainian Dwight Howard or Russian. But the thing is, guys that big are slow.
Yep.
If they hit me, they're going to kill me.
Yep.
But if I could make it out of the first round alive, they're too tired to do any considerable damage to me.
Yeah.
So I never had to cut weight. I actually put on weight.
Yeah.
But in 2016, for that Olympic trials, I decided to drop down weight classes, and I fought at 201. So I had to start cutting weight.
Yep.
But I was vegan by then, and it's pretty easy to manipulate your diet plant-based.
Yeah. I could imagine.
Yeah.
So, what is your favorite boxing memory and why?
Ooh, favorite boxing memory. That Ukraine story's up there. Here's a good one. I fought in the Pan Am Games in Toronto back in 2015.
Yeah.
And I lost. I lost the fight I thought I should have won. And I did an interview where I just said a bunch of random stuff that I thought was funny at the time. I answered every question the interviewer asked, but I was very sassy.
Yeah.
And it went viral. And I referred to myself as not the Taylor Swift of boxing. And the Nick Jonas of the Jonas Brothers like tweeted it and posted the video, and then he tagged Taylor Swift, and she didn't retweet it, but she liked it, and it went viral.
That's
And
crazy.
remember Highly Questionable, the TV show?
Yeah.
I got to host that show a few times,
That's
and
cool. Oh
I
yeah.
got to go on Sports Nation and do a whole bunch of things because I lost a fight and did a crazy interview. So
Hell yeah. I'm gonna have to look that up. Yeah,
yeah,
I'll definitely look into that. That's cool.
that led to I was sponsored by Chipotle for 3 years because of
Oh
that.
heck yeah.
Bro, as a broke athlete, when I say I ate Chipotle 7 days a week, yeah, it was because I had no other, I couldn't afford food. So also Under Armour sponsored me. They didn't give me money, but they gave me a lot of free clothes that I then sold on Facebook Market for a lot of money.
I love it. I love it. Hustler. I love it.
Yeah.
How has your perception of boxing changed as an athlete being in the sport?
I had a pretty good grasp of it because I never identified
Yeah.
as a boxer because I was never that tough guy.
Yep.
And so I took the opposite approach. I used to box in a pink skirt because I thought it'd be funny to beat up a grown man in a pink skirt.
Yep.
So my view of boxing was it was a game.
Yep.
And I'm not tough outside the ring. But when
Yeah.
we get in that ring, oh, I'm the man.
Yep.
And I realized like I can leverage my experience in the ring
Yep.
to do what I want with the sport.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I did is I became the athlete representative for the Olympic team.
Yep.
And I spoke on behalf of the athletes to change the rules to what I wanted. Because you can mold anything you want. You just got to have the cojones to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sports for me was just a way to get out of my situation and get things I want. And I still feel that way. But as I'm getting older and the boxers who boxed along with me, they're still fighting. And I'm like, bro, you're 40.
Yeah.
What are you doing? And it's like, it's because they didn't have the foresight to realize that their sport's going to be over sometime. So some people say I left the sport too early. But my perception is like, it doesn't. Here's the best way I explain it. In 2007, my first nationals I went to, I lost. I made it to the semifinals. I lost against a guy named Michael Hunter.
Yep.
Michael Hunter fought in the finals against Mike Wilson.
Yep.
So Michael Hunter was 18 years old, just like me. Mike Wilson was 32.
Yep.
Mike Wilson had all the experience. He had been there before. He won a bunch. But he also had kids and a job and a life.
Yep.
Michael Hunter didn't have any of those things.
Yeah.
And I got to look at it and I said, oh, let's see who wins and why. Michael Hunter, the younger boxer, won. And I thought, okay, I'm the younger one right now, but eventually I'm going to be on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm young, I'm like, oh, I have energy on my side. I have youth on my side. And Mike Wilson is thinking he has experience on his side.
Yeah.
But eventually, one's going to better the other.
Yeah.
And it's usually the youth that wins. And in 2018, I lost a fight to a young boxer. And it was 2017. I was living in my van and I was trying to I was half-ass training, and I lost a fight to Jared Anderson. He turned out to be a great pro. And I remember having that moment. I was like, oh no, I'm Mike Wilson. I have a life. I have bills. I have a business I'm building. Jared Anderson doesn't have any of those things.
Yeah.
I lost that fight. Jared Anderson beat my ass.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. If I can't give 100% to this, I'm out.
Yeah.
And that's when I decided, I was like, oh, if I can't give 100%, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Which I think is fair, right? Like in life, at least for me personally speaking, like I'm the same way. Like if I'm not giving my 100%, like I shouldn't be doing it. So I think that's very respectable and something I think some athletes need to come to as well.
Yeah.
What do you think of the current landscape of boxing today?
Ooh, so Jake Paul.
Yep, and he's on my list. He was someone I was going to talk to you about.
So you're supposed to hate him. He plays the heel. That's the character he plays.
Yep.
So yeah, I hate him or whatever. I love what he's doing for the sport
Yep.
because back in the day, it's like you have to go through the Don Kings and the promotional companies and they screw you over. But what Jake Paul did was show boxers that if you have a fan base, you could leverage that, and
Yep.
you don't need to go through the old route of becoming a champion.
So, yeah, similar to you with the like independent artists and the independent, same
That
thing.
what and I said if I ever did turn pro, do you know who Butterbean is?
It sounds familiar.
He was
Sounds
a really
familiar.
fat, bald, like he's a fat boxer, but he
Yep.
only fought people who didn't know how to fight, and it was more of a spectacle.
Yep.
I said if I ever fought, it would be like that, a spectacle.
Yep.
Jake Paul did it on a whole nother level that I couldn't even imagine. What I was trying to do is what he did, but he did it way better than me.
Yep.
And he leveraged his fan base.
Yep.
And he showed athletes that you can show up with your own leverage.
Yep.
And here's something that no one talks about. The highest paid grossing female boxing match was on his undercard because he's making sure that female boxers are getting paid.
That's awesome.
They broke the record from his last boxing match where he also paid the females more money than females ever been made. So the landscape is allowing female boxing to flourish. Like Clarissa Shields is out here killing it. Franchon Cruz, Michaela Mayer. So there's so many big female boxing names out there that I love that they're getting the opportunity, because not until 2012 did they let women compete in the Olympics.
Yep.
And they only gave them like 3 weight classes.
Yeah. This is bullshit.
Yeah. So the boxing landscape, it's growing. And I just hope boxers understand that to make a career in boxing, it's more than just punching.
Yep.
You got to show your face. You got to build a following and plan an exit.
So, yeah, it's interesting because I feel like you hear from a lot of boxers and a lot of boxing fans, not like you, who are against this. Why do you think they are against what Jake Paul does? Do you think it's just him, or do you think, maybe if it was what he was doing, but maybe he was more likable, people wouldn't be so against it?
Yeah, if he was likable, you wouldn't know who he was.
It's a fair point.
If Mayweather was likable, you wouldn't really care. Like, hey, do you know who Andre Ward is?
Mm-mm.
Okay, Andre Ward is the last gold medalist Olympian. He's probably one of the greatest boxers to ever live. He won the Olympics in 2004, I believe. He retired undefeated.
Yeah.
And you don't know who he is.
Yeah.
You know why? Because his boxing name is SOG, Son of God. He's a God-fearing man. He's very respectful. He's the nicest guy in the world. He gets in the ring. He kicks ass. He disappears. You don't hear anything about any domestic violence, any gun charges. There's no reason to hate this man.
Yep.
So there's really no reason to know he exists.
Yep.
And as talented as he is, Jake Paul makes way more money than him.
Yep.
So who would you rather be?
Yeah, I mean, it's sad though. Like, right? Like, what? I mean, I know that's like just the landscape of America and like, whatever. But like, it is sad that like the people who are maybe not as
talented.
Yeah,
not
as
talented
talented, and also just not as good of a human too.
Yeah. Well, here's something also. We don't know how good of a human Jake Paul is.
True.
But from what I hear from the grapevine, he takes care of everyone.
Yeah.
It's not just him trying to grab money. He's making sure everyone around him is eating.
Yep.
But if he made that public, we might like him.
Yep.
And he can't have that.
No.
Because people need to tune in. The reason why we watch Mayweather was to watch him lose.
I was going to say, that's literally the only reason why I watch Jake Paul is, God damn it, I want him to lose so bad.
And then you pay that $60 to the zone or whatever it is, and he's just collecting that cash.
Yep.
So I understand why he's likable. So I say I hate him because he needs to be that heel character, but I love the character that he plays. I doubt that's who he is in real life.
Yep. I like that. I like the explanation. How do you think the sport of boxing can grow? Do you think it's in this way that we were just talking?
Ooh, how can the sport of boxing grow? Well, here's the thing. You know how no one really watches soccer?
Yeah.
But it's the most popular sport in the world?
Yep.
No one watches it here in the States. Like, boxing's huge. MMA is huge everywhere but here. And I believe that's because there's no college scholarships for it.
Yep.
A mom won't put her kid in a boxing ring, but she'd put him on a football field.
Yep.
Because he might get a scholarship.
Yep.
So these sports might not be big here in the United States, but they're huge in other countries. So boxing's not dying. It's just not relevant to some people in the States.
It's interesting. I like that take though. Like, it doesn't really make sense why it's an Olympic sport, but we don't have it in college.
Well, insurance reasons.
Yeah.
Like, because you would need to put it on a school level.
Yep.
And, insurance, you're not going to get insurance for a combat sport like that in middle school or high school.
Yep.
So then we don't develop talent that early. It's not that America has the most talented boxers.
Yep.
But we also have the most inexperienced boxers.
Yep.
So like if you're in England, like if you're in France, you can drive 4 hours and go to another country, fight a whole other country's boxers.
Yep.
In the United States, we have to go across the pond to get another country. We got Canada, we got Mexico, and they're still far away.
Yep.
So there's so much more opportunity for competition in other countries because boxing is bigger.
Yep.
So we have talent, but we don't have the experience.
It's interesting. I feel like I'm learning so much about boxing. This is exactly one of the very many reasons why I had you on, but I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, where can people find you? Where can people get in touch with you? Follow your story.
So you can find me at camfawesome.com and at camfawesome on all social media platforms because I'm not relevant enough for anyone to try to steal my name yet. So I'm a multi-time national champion heavyweight Olympic boxer and former captain of the USA national boxing team. As captain, I would go to other countries and fight their number one boxers. But as captain, I would have to find the do's and don'ts about each country. Yep. Relay the message to my teammates so we don't look like idiots in other countries and we're good ambassadors from the sport. Rarely did that work. I put my foot in my mouth a lot, but I learned a lot about cultural communication. Yep. So as a speaker, I speak on mindset, resilience, and a positive internal dialogue, as well as communication within the workplace. So if you're looking for a speaker, holla at your boy.
I love it. I love it. Make sure to go check him out. Cam, it was super, super fun to have you on today. And I really appreciate you taking the time.
Appreciate you for having me, man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to stay logical and ran that nonsense.